For 15 years, I'd worked in public education. I started as a classroom teacher and later moved into administration. 3 years ago, I was promoted to district supervisor of academic programs for the county school system. I oversaw 42 schools, managed a department of 17 people, and earned a salary that would have surprised my family if they'd ever asked. They never asked. My sister Patricia knew I worked in education and assumed that meant teacher's aide or secretary. I'd stopped correcting her years ago. Patricia's twin daughters, Madison and Morgan, were juniors at Riverside Academy, the county's top-performing high school. I'd approved their magnet program funding, signed off on their STEM lab equipment, and sat in on their principal's review. The girls had no idea. The spring showcase was Riverside's biggest event. I'd been invited in my official capacity to observe the engineering program I'd helped fund. The invitation had come to my office, clearly addressed to Laura Chen, District Supervisor of Academic Programs. I RSVP'd through my assistant. I didn't mention it to Patricia. My professional life was better kept separate. But Patricia found out, probably through the school's newsletter. She called 3 days before. "You're coming to the girls' showcase?" She sounded surprised. I like supporting education initiatives. The girls are excited. Madison's doing robotics and Morgan has chemistry. All their friends will be there. Sounds impressive. About that, Patricia's tone shifted. The girls are a little worried. You know how teenagers are. They asked if maybe you could keep a low profile. Sure, I'll be discreet. The showcase was Thursday evening. I left my office at 5, still in my work clothes, professional pantsuit, heels, district ID badge on a lanyard. I drove to Riverside, the school where I'd spent countless hours in administrative meetings. The parking lot was packed. I found a spot and walked toward the main entrance. Madison appeared halfway there with Morgan behind her. "Aunt Laura, you made it. I wouldn't miss it." "So there's a thing." Madison exchanged a glance with Morgan. "The front entrance is really crowded. They're asking some people to use alternate entrances." "I can wait." "No. It's better if you use the service entrance. It's actually closer to the exhibits." I looked at them carefully. Morgan was shifting nervously. Madison's jaw was set. "You want me to use the staff entrance? It's just easier. Plus, all our friends are here, and if they see us with you, they'll want to meet you, and we'll have to explain, and it's awkward." "Explain what?" Madison flushed. "That you're our aunt, who works at a school. They'll ask questions." "Use the back door," Morgan added quietly. "Please? We don't want our friends thinking we brought school staff as guests." Patricia appeared then. "Girls, I told you I'd handle this." She turned to me with an apologetic smile. "Laura, would you mind using the south entrance? The one staff uses. Much less chaotic. This crowd is mostly administration and successful parents. Might not be your scene." I stood there in my professional suit, wearing my district supervisor badge, looking at my sister and her daughters, who wanted me to use the service entrance because they were embarrassed. "The custodial entrance," I repeated. "Don't make it a thing. The girls just want their night to go smoothly." I could have corrected them. Could have turned my badge around. Could have mentioned I'd be sitting with school board members. Instead, I smiled. "Of course. Where's this entrance?" Relief flooded their faces. Madison pointed. "Around that way. Door marked staff only. You can pretend you're a janitor or something," Morgan added nervously. "Just until you get inside." Patricia squeezed my arm. "Thanks for understanding." They hurried to the main entrance. I watched them disappear, then walked around the building. The staff entrance was exactly where Madison said it would be. I'd used it dozens of times during administrative visits. I badged in, the electronic lock recognizing my credentials, and stepped into the familiar corridor. The hallway was lined with photographs and plaques documenting Riverside's achievements. I walked slowly, observing what I'd seen many times before, but never quite like this. There was the plaque commemorating the school's National Blue Ribbon Award. There was the photo from the STEM lab dedication I'd attended. And there, in a frame between the science wing and the main corridor, was a photograph from last year's district leadership conference. Front and center, me, shaking hands with the superintendent, accepting recognition for innovative curriculum development. The plaque below read, "Laura Chen, District Supervisor of Academic Programs. Excellence in Educational Leadership." I paused in front of it, remembering that day. Then I continued down the corridor, past the custodial closets and storage rooms, through the doors that led to the main building. The showcase was set up in the gymnasium and surrounding classrooms. I entered quietly, noting the VIP section near the stage where I was supposed to sit. Instead, I hung back near the entrance, observing from a distance. Madison's robotics demonstration was impressive. Morgan's chemistry presentation showed genuine understanding. I felt proud of them despite everything. They were bright, capable students in a school that provided excellent opportunities that helped create and fund. I stayed for an hour, then slipped out before the closing remarks. In my car, I sat for a moment before starting the engine. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder for tomorrow's meeting, 9:00 a.m. Riverside Academy, Principal's Office, Quarterly Program Review. The next morning, I dressed carefully in a gray suit and took my time with coffee. My assistant had prepared the review documents, including the updated budget allocations that required the principal's approval and my signature. I arrived at Riverside at 8:45, parking in my designated spot near the administrative offices. The building was familiar, comfortable. I'd been coming here for 3 years in my supervisory capacity. Dr. Martinez was already in her office when I arrived. "Laura, thank you for coming. I wanted to apologize again for missing you at the showcase last night. I got pulled into a parent emergency right when you were supposed to arrive." "No problem." I observed from the back. "The programs look excellent. Thanks to your advocacy for our funding." She pulled out a folder. "I wanted to discuss the continuation of the engineering program for next year." We spent an hour reviewing budgets, enrollment numbers, and program outcomes. Dr. Martinez needed my approval for several initiatives, which I granted after ensuring they met district standards. "Before you go," she said as we finished, "I wanted to mention something. Madison and Morgan Thompson's mother called this morning asking about you." I looked up from my papers. "Patricia called. She wanted to know if I knew why you'd been at the showcase. She seemed surprised you'd attended." I explained that you were there in your official capacity as district supervisor, that we'd specifically invited you to observe the engineering program. Dr. Martinez paused. She seemed shocked, said something about thinking you were a teacher's aide. "I work in education," I said mildly. "It's a common misunderstanding." She asked if I could have you call her. Said it was urgent, something about her daughters needing to speak with you. I finished gathering my materials. "I'll reach out when I have time." Back in my office at the district building, I found 3 voicemails from Patricia, each increasingly frantic. 2 texts from Madison, 1 from Morgan. All said essentially the same thing. "We need to talk. Please call. It's important." I didn't call back immediately. Instead, I worked through my afternoon meetings, reviewed curriculum proposals, and had a productive discussion with the superintendent about next year's budget priorities. At 4:00, I finally called Patricia. "Laura," she sounded breathless. "Oh my God, I've been trying to reach you all day. Dr. Martinez called me this morning. She said you're the district supervisor? That you oversee all the county schools." "That's correct." "Why didn't you tell me?" "You never asked." Silence. Then, "The girls are mortified. Laura, they made you use the service entrance. They told you to pretend to be a janitor. And the whole time, you were there in some official capacity." "I was invited to observe the engineering program. I approved its funding." "Oh my God." Patricia's voice dropped. "You fund their programs. You have authority over their school." "I'm the district supervisor. I oversee academic programs at all county schools, including Riverside." "The girls saw the photo in the hallway this morning, the one from that award ceremony. They realized you walked right past your own picture when they made you use that entrance." I didn't respond. "Laura, they feel terrible. They didn't know. If they'd known who you were." "Would it have mattered?" I asked quietly. "Should people only be treated with respect if they hold important titles?" Another silence. "That's not what I mean. Patricia, you told me to use the custodial entrance because you assumed I was insignificant enough that it wouldn't matter. Your daughters suggested I pretend to be a janitor because they were embarrassed by me. Not because of who I am, but because of who you all assumed I was. We made a mistake. You made an assumption. There's a difference. What can we do?" "The girls want to apologize properly. They can apologize if they want to, but understand something. I would have used that entrance regardless of my title if you'd asked respectfully. The problem wasn't the entrance, it was the contempt behind why you asked me to use it." I heard Patricia breathe shakily. "Dr. Martinez mentioned you'd be back next month for another review. I have quarterly reviews at all my schools, Riverside included. So you'll see the girls." "I'll see all the students. That's part of my job." Laura, please don't hold this against them professionally. They're academics. Patricia, I cut her off firmly. I would never let personal matters affect my professional judgment. The girls are excellent students in a strong program. That won't change. But don't insult me by suggesting I'd punish teenagers for their mother's assumptions about my career. I didn't mean. I know what you meant. You meant that now that you know I have authority, you're worried about consequences. But you weren't worried about consequences when you thought I was nobody important. I heard her crying softly. I'm sorry, I really am. I believe you're sorry you were wrong about my position. I'm less certain you're sorry about how you treated me when you thought I was right. After we hung up, I sat at my desk looking out over the district office complex. My assistant knocked and entered with next month's schedule. You have Riverside Academy on the 15th, she said. Principal evaluation and program review. I remember. Also, there's a request here from Madison and Morgan Thompson. They're asking if they could meet with you before the official visit. They submitted it through proper channels, requested it as student representatives wanting to discuss program feedback. I looked at the formal request form, properly filled out and submitted through the school's official process. They'd done it right, professionally, the way students were supposed to request meetings with district administrators. Schedule it, I said, 30 minutes before the principal review. 2 weeks later, I returned to Riverside Academy. Madison and Morgan were waiting in the conference room, both looking nervous in their school uniforms. They stood when I entered. Thank you for meeting with us, Madison said formally. We know you're busy. I sat down, setting my briefcase aside. You requested this meeting. What did you want to discuss? We wanted to apologize, Morgan said. Really apologize. Not just because you're the district supervisor, but because what we did was wrong, regardless of who you are. We were embarrassed by you, Madison continued, not because of anything you did, but because we built this story in our heads that you weren't successful. Mom always talked about you like you were struggling, and we just accepted it. We never asked about your actual job, Morgan added. We just assumed, and then we treated you terribly based on that assumption. They both looked miserable, genuinely ashamed. I let the silence sit for a moment. What you did hurt, I said finally. Not because you made me use a different entrance, but because you made it clear you valued status over respect, that you'd only treat someone well if they seemed important enough. We know, Madison whispered. We're learning that now. The person you told to pretend to be a janitor, she helped fund your STEM lab. She approved your robotics program. She advocated for resources that benefit your education. But even if she hadn't, she still deserved basic courtesy. We understand that now, Morgan said. And we're sorry, really, truly sorry. I looked at these two teenagers who were learning a hard lesson about assumptions and respect. Apology accepted. Now, you mentioned wanting to discuss program feedback. Their faces showed surprise that I was moving forward professionally. Madison recovered first, pulling out a notebook. We wanted to suggest some improvements to the engineering curriculum. We have ideas about practical applications. We spent 20 minutes discussing their thoughtful suggestions. They were smart, engaged students with legitimate insights. When we finished, I gathered my materials. Those are good recommendations. I'll discuss them with Dr. Martinez. Thank you, they said in unison. At the door, I paused. For what it's worth, your mother called me. She's upset about what happened. She should be, Madison said. She taught us to judge you without knowing you. People make mistakes. What matters is what you do after. I adjusted my briefcase. You both have bright futures. Don't waste them on assumptions about other people's worth. After they left, Dr. Martinez came in for our scheduled review. She mentioned that the Thompson girls had been different lately, more thoughtful, asking more questions about people's backgrounds before making judgments. Whatever happened at the showcase, she said, it seems to have taught them something valuable. Sometimes education happens outside the classroom, I said. That evening, Patricia texted me. The girls said their meeting went well. Thank you for treating them professionally despite everything. I replied simply, that's my job. She wrote back after a pause. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. I should have said that years ago. Yes, I typed back, you should have. But it was a start, not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement. Recognition not just of my title, but of the years I'd spent building a career while my family assumed I was going nowhere. The next time there was a family gathering, Patricia introduced me differently. This is my sister, Laura. She's the district supervisor of academic programs. She oversees all the county schools. It shouldn't have mattered. My work had value whether my family recognized it or not. But hearing my sister finally acknowledge it, and seeing my nieces understand what I actually did, it meant something. Not because titles matter most, but because being seen accurately matters. Being known for who you actually are, not who people assume you to be. And sometimes it takes walking through a service entrance past your own achievements to show people the difference between how they treat someone and how they should.